In 2022, Apple TV Plus released the first season of Severance, one of the most fantastically unique, engaging, and thought-provoking shows of recent years. It was a near faultless season of television that had audiences engrossed from start to finish, with it blending quirky and offbeat comedy with suspense and mystery. As the years have gone by, anticipation and hype for season 2 has gone through the roof, which left the creators of the show in a tricky position, as it would be so difficult to live up to the brilliance of the first season. Despite this, they were somehow able to do it. So in today's video, I'm going to be discussing how the second season of Severance was able to do the impossible, by providing viewers with a wonderfully satisfying second season of the show that was able to live up to the monumental hype. And just for a heads up, this discussion will contain major spoilers. Season 1 finished on a massive cliffhanger, when Marquez and the rest of his colleagues led a revolt, leading to him discovering that Mrs. Casey is actually his outie's wife, who was believed to be dead. This was a shocking twist that had audiences in disbelief, so going into season 2, we were desperate to see how they dealt with the aftermath of this epic finale. Once the MDR group were back together, they discussed their experience of the overtime contingency when they saw the outside world for the first time. But they don't all tell the truth. Most importantly, Helly makes up a story involving a nighttime gardener, which raises suspicions, particularly from Irving. She doesn't reveal that her outie is actually Helena Egan, an executive at Lumen, which the audience initially assumes is due to fear of being judged. But by episode 4, we find out that we'd been deceived all throughout the season. What we thought was Helly was in fact Helena Egan, Helly's outie. Helena had studied footage of Helly and Mark to allow for her to impersonate Harini and fool her colleagues. In fact, Helena was so committed to the deception that she even had sex with Mark in there. This twist really took me by surprise, but once you start looking back at previous events, you do start to see the clues, which made me appreciate the twist that much more. To find out the truth, Irving goes to extreme measures and begins drowning her. He gets what he wants, but there are severe repercussions, with Milchick terminating Irving from his position at Lumen. He walks away and into the forest before being deactivated, meaning Irving the Innie is no more. The loss of Irving and the deception of Helena brought about some fascinating questions that are absolutely key to the show, with the first being, if an Innie is deactivated, have they essentially died? Irving's outie will continue his life outside of Lumen, but the conscious being of Irving the Innie no longer exists. The man who was a great friend to all at MDR and fell in love with Bert has gone, and it just feels wrong. And if you look at the reaction of all his colleagues, they clearly considered him to be a real, legitimate person. The MDR team grieved the loss of Irving as though he's died, with Dylan demanding that they have a funeral for him. In one aspect, it kinda feels pointless, as Irving the outie just goes home and carries on with his life, with no memory of his experiences at Lumen. But the conscious personality of Irving the Innie has been lost, and I found it incredibly emotionally affecting. This aspect of the show had me contemplating larger philosophical questions about life, like what does it actually mean to be you? Are you your body, or are you your mind, your consciousness? I must say, I love sci-fi when it's able to tackle these type of heavy themes. Despite Irving's Innie being deactivated, this is not the last we see of John Turturro, as we get to see Irving and Bert reconnect once again, but this time in the outside world, and I loved every one of these scenes. Christopher Walken is a legendary actor, we all know how good he is, but John Turturro is just next level. He brings such a raw and vulnerable edge to the character. Bert's outie is married, so there's no potential future for him and Irving, but you can really feel how much Irving longs for them to be together, even though he doesn't actually know him in truth. He's just got that gut feeling that they're right for each other. Genuinely, when Irving tells him, "I've never known what it's like to be loved," it really moved me. John Turturro's line delivery is just flawless, and I fully expect him to receive awards recognition for his performance. The concept of reintegration was introduced in season 1, with PT undergoing the procedure, which would see the process of severance reversed, meaning the conscious identities of his innie and outie were merged into a single mind, thus enabling all memories and experiences to be accessed. It was shown to be an incredibly dangerous procedure though, with PT experiencing severe hallucinations until he eventually collapses and dies. Despite this, reintegration plays a huge role in this season, with Mark deciding to undergo the procedure also. He's desperate to find out the truth about his wife, and gaining knowledge of his innie's memories will help with this. Mark is fully aware that this could kill him, but he doesn't care. He just wants answers, and he'll do whatever it takes to get them. This level of desperation shows how much his wife means to him, but by this point of the show, we'd only heard of his relationship with his wife. It's hard to really understand what he's lost, without seeing it for ourselves. But in episode 7, we finally get the backstory of Mark and Gemma, his wife. It's been a long time coming. We see how they met, how the relationship blossomed, and the love that they have for each other. They genuinely seem so happy, and they've got natural chemistry. It's lovely to see. However, they still had the problems. They're desperate to start a family, but they're continuously unsuccessful, and it puts a significant strain on the marriage. Mark becomes distant, focusing more on his work, and on one fateful night, he rejects the opportunity to have a fun outing with Gemma and the friends. Later that night, police arrive at the house to tell him that his wife had died in a car accident, and you can completely understand why her death hit him so hard. She was the love of his life, and I imagine he probably partially blames himself for her death, as he should have been with her, even though that's not really fair. But this just reinforces why he will do whatever it takes to find out the truth about his wife. This mixture of love and guilt is what drives him. Later that episode, we finally find out what Gemma is doing at Lumen. She spent the last couple of years living as a patient on Lumen's testing floor, going into various rooms that will elicit some form of negative response. Each room name is linked to the files being worked on by the MDR team. Each time she enters a room, she awakens as an innie that is tied to that specific room. Upon leaving, she's then interviewed about any lingering memories or feelings. Ever since we found out that Mrs. Casey was Mark's wife, we've been desperately wanting to know why she's there. So to finally get some answers felt super satisfying, and raised my level of intrigue even more. Severance uses a mystery box formula, a form of storytelling that is effective at building central mysteries that can keep viewers engaged. This storytelling method was popularised by J.J. Abrams, particularly with Lost. However, I was concerned that the show would end up suffering similar problems and struggle when it comes to delivering a satisfying payoff. But the writers have been able to find a really nice balance between building intrigue and loose threads, whilst providing the viewers with the answers that they crave. In episode 8, we get a deeper look into Cobal's background, Mark's former floor manager, and it's revealed that it was her who invented the Severance procedure, not Lumen CEO Jay Megan, like we initially thought. This was yet another shocking discovery, but it once again highlights how Severance is a brilliant social commentary and satire of corporate business, where CEOs take credit for the hard work and ingenuity of their employees, and these figures are treated like they're some sort of mythical beings, gods in comparison to the everyday worker. I mean, just look at the way they talk about and revere Lumen founder Keir Egan. He's built up like he's fucking Jesus, but the exaggerated, cult-like approach to the founder is there to highlight how over the top we've become, almost deifying these figures, whether that be someone like a Steve Jobs or an Elon Musk. Over the course of the season, Dylan G has been allowed to meet with Gretchen, his outie's wife, who tells him all about the life on the outside, something that he wishes he could experience for himself. Dylan's outie is depressed and lacks purpose, so when Gretchen goes to visit his innie, it feels like she's with the old Dylan, a happier, more positive version. She enjoys visiting him, but feels guilty about it, especially when her and Dylan's innie share a kiss, and she even begins lying to her husband about visiting him. At this point, I suddenly started to think, are they having an affair? Because if you consider Dylan's innie and outie to be two different people, then yeah, I guess she is. Eventually, she confesses to his outie that they shared a kiss, and he's naturally fuming, threatening to quit work and end his innie's existence, causing Gretchen to end things during her next visit. Dylan G doesn't react well to this, believing he's got nothing left to live for, and decides to hand in a resignation form. He's gone from having nothing to having a taste of love, to then having it ripped away from him. It's cruel, and it just shows how cruel the entire premise of Severance truly is. Dylan's outie gives him the choice to stay or quit, writing him a letter where he explains his view on their affair. It starts with anger and resentment, but ends with him admitting that I hope one day she looks at me again like she looks at you. And my god, it really got me. This season has been more measured and deliberate than the last, but by the season finale, all the pieces are in place, and it has the narrative thrust and momentum needed for an epic finale. Mark plans to find Gemma on the testing floor and rescue her, knowing that once Cold Harbour has been completed, she'll no longer be needed, meaning he'll never see her again. After that, they'll be able to take down Lumen once and for all. This brings about a fantastic debate between Mark's innie and outie, with his innie concerned that if Lumen is taken down and they're fully reintegrated, he will lose his identity and sense of control, but more importantly, that he would lose Helly forever. Once again, this highlights the fascinating moral quandaries that come with Severance. Mark S clearly has a lot of resentment towards his outie, which is natural, as he feels like he's been given no agency in his life. So can you really blame him? To him, his life and love is just as important. Watching Mark's innie and outie debate this was amazing television, but this scene was only able to be so effective due to Adam Scott's excellent performance. He made it feel like you were watching two different characters, and in this instance, he couldn't rely on hair and costume to help differentiate them. It's all in the performance and the writing to do the heavy lifting. Eventually, Mark S is convinced to help rescue Gemma, and after some surprisingly violent and bloody sequences, we get the moment we've all been waiting for, and it's fucking beautiful. Ben Stiller directed the shit out of this episode, but this scene in particular was done especially well. I felt all the emotions of the scene, and they felt fully earned. Both actors absolutely killed it. You're desperate for the couple to get away and expose Lumen's crimes, even though it would likely mean the series ends. But as Severance so often likes to do, they throw us yet another curveball, as when Gemma escapes the testing floor, with Mark right behind her, he suddenly starts having doubts about whether he wants to go with her. And as I'm sure many of you were, I was screaming at the TV for him to escape with her. But once Helly turns up, you know his decision has been made, and he runs back into the hallway, hand in hand with Helly, leaving a crushed Gemma desperately screaming for him to come back. And my god, what a fucking cliffhanger! This show knows exactly how to do a season finale. What an episode, and what a brilliant season of television. I'm gutted that Mark didn't leave with Gemma, but at the same time, I completely understand why he didn't, although I'm not entirely sure what his plan is. All I do know is that I can't wait to see where the show ends up. Apple TV Plus has done the impossible. This follow-up season has built on the brilliance of the first season, giving us an emotionally impactful season of television that not only met our expectations, but left us craving even more. So well done to everyone involved. Unsurprisingly, I would absolutely recommend watching the second season of Severance. It gets 2 thumbs up from me, as it's certainly worth watching. So, what did you think of the second season of Severance? And will you be tuning in for season 3? Let me know in the comments down below. Thank you for watching, and if you enjoyed the video, leave a like and subscribe for more. And I'll see you next time for another video. Goodbye.